Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am the maestro, Mr. Warren Hayes, and welcome to the program here on this wonderful Thursday evening. We're recording live here on November 5th, 2020, over on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, where we talk about professional wrestling of all things. And I mean, I know that a lot, I know right now, especially, for all viewers, all members of the Mr. Warren Hayes universe, don't ever let me say that again. I know that, for all of you in the United States, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of anxiety. And here's what I'm hoping. This is what I'm hoping that's going to happen for the next hour or so. Let's say 60 to 90 minutes. Let's hope that we can all together just get our mind off of things, and as I tweeted out, melt down over things that are a lot more trivial, like professional wrestling. It makes somehow it makes a lot more sense to do it. But I appreciate everyone being here live in the chat. Of course, we have a whole bunch of doing. I want to say hello to Patrick Mason, who dropped in to say that he can't make it. Still appreciate the gesture. Thank you, Patrick. Good to see you nonetheless. We got Anakin JMT, who's here in the chat. Kelly Tonjes, Robert Larry. Hello to both of yous. Good to see you. Benoit's in the chat. The first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, Kristen Ashley, is here as well. Hello, darling. Who else do we got? We got Carlos, who's here as well. Good to see you. William Davis, DGMC, Mr. Fantastic. Now, that's something. That's something that you like people to say about you. Hey, it's Mr. Fantastic. I wish people say that about me. Tim Trevor is here. Good to see you. Nikki, how you doing? Abhinav, good to see you as well, sir. And there you go. We've got a whole bunch of people joining me live. So if you ever have the opportunity, every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. If you can't make it, that's fine. The video is available for you to watch at any given moment. At any given moment, you can come and watch it here. And if you're watching it now, if you're watching in the future, why don't you go right ahead and give the video a thumbs up? I appreciate it. That kind of stuff helps out a lot, help the show grow. That's fantastic. And thank you as well if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, because yes, you can listen to just my voice. You don't have to look at me. You can just listen to me as well over on your favorite podcast app, and I appreciate it as well. All the people joining, all the numerous people who are downloading the Mr. Warren Hayes Show on their podcast applications. I appreciate it. Do consider leaving a review, a thumbs up, a like, a subscription. That kind of stuff always helps quite a bit. Now, I've got quite a stack of stuff happening outside of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Get ready, folks. Here we go. Belltobells.com. BELLTOBELLES. Of course, your women's wrestling news wire. That's where you want to go to get all sorts of great stuff about women's wrestling. I've been talking about it for weeks now. Yes, there's all the interviews that we did for the PWI Women's 100 list. They're all there. They're all still there. You should go listen to me talk to Lufisto. You don't go talk about Lufisto. Talk to Lufisto, I mean. Talk to Session Moth Martina. Talk to Shaza McKenzie, Alexia Nicole. Like, there's a whole bunch of people there that you should go. Hi, Ann. Go check that out. But on top of that, here's the big news, something that we're really, really excited about. We're expanding, we're broadening at Bell to Bells a little bit, adding a little more to our offer there, where we're going to have a series. We're going to have a series of podcasts there as well, or videos, whatever you want to call them, over on our YouTube channel, dedicated to stuff that doesn't necessarily have to do with wrestling. So like pop culture, music, whatever you want to call it. And we're calling it Bell to Bells Outside the Ropes. See, because it's outside the ropes. And it's going to be debuting with our brand new collaborator, a friend of Kristen and mine's, a fantastic lady, Kelsey from Super Kicking It with Kelsey, as you may recall. She'll be coming back talking about non-wrestling stuff. She's going to dive deep into pop culture, and we are super happy that she's coming back to content creation, and she's coming back with us. So that's fantastic. So keep your eyes peeled on the Bell to Bells Twitter account, Bell to Bells, to make sure that you don't miss that out. You can also follow Kelsey as well. Kelsey's fantastic. I can't tell you how excited I am to have her back creating content. We're all better off with Kelsey creating content than the opposite. Trust me on that. So keep an eye on all that stuff. That's going to be great. I also did a couple of podcasts this week. I did a couple of podcast appearances on Wrestling Plug Inc. Audio podcast that you definitely want to check out over on your favorite podcast application. I head on over there and had a talk, a great talk where, talked about how I got into podcasting, talked about women's wrestling, how Bell to Bells came around. Also, we even started talking about Full Gear as well. Go check it out, Wrestling Plug Inc. It was a good time. And you like good times, so go check that out. That was really good. And for another good time, you can also jump over to the No Particular Angle podcast. My boy JPQ is on his autumn tour. He retired, but he came back, and he's got a whole bunch of podcasts with a whole bunch of people out there, including me. And guess what we're talking about? New Japan Pro Wrestling. John's a friend. He's a good friend, and I love talking wrestling with him. And it was a pleasure. So, that's definitely something you want to check out. No Particular Angle podcast. And tomorrow, Friday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm doing my Full Gear, AEW Full Gear 2020 prediction show. And I'm going to have Jeff Hawkins, Fightful contributor, a guy that I met over while working at Fightful. Jeff is going to be joining me, Fightful contributor, host or co-host of Shake Them Ropes or on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. I'm excited. It's been a while since I've talked with Jeff. He's a good yang to my yin. So I'm excited to have him. 7 p.m. just before SmackDown. Come and join us right here, 7 p.m. Eastern. YouTube.com/MrWarrenHayes. That's still the address. And I will be doing a Power Struggle recap show Saturday morning, whenever it finishes, like at around 6 a.m. Eastern, and I'll be joined by Darren Kirkby, Mags, once again, who's going to come in, and we're going to recap the show. Power Struggle, Saturday morning. You don't want to miss that either. Join the Discord. The link's in the description. It's a good time, and we have fun. Support the Mr. Warren Hayes show over on patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. Join us for the post stream. I have a post stream for patrons only where we come in and we chat and we talk about stuff, and we're going to be talking about Full Gear predictions tonight, and we're going to poll the patrons and see what they feel about Full Gear, and become a member of the channel, get emojis, and drop super chats. That's another great way to show support. And they're all great ways to show support. Like Anakin JMT already dropped 2. First of all, his first super chat. Thank you, Anakin, very much. He says, Warren looking very sus tonight. Sus as in suspicious, because we do have occasional, whenever we can get enough people, of course, occasional games of Among Us over on the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord, and it is a boatload of fun. And I mean, the Discord is fantastic, right? So I mean, there you go. Come and join us. There's another good reason. Play Among Us with us. It's fun. Anakin JMT left us another super chat. I already said that. I said we left 2, but here we go. Anakin says, if Outside the Ropes does a collab with Inside the Ropes, what would you call it? The Void of Ropes. Because I think if you go inside and outside at once, I think it creates a hole in the space-time continuum. It's kind of like when you Google. You're not supposed to do that kind of stuff. It just does. No, now my Google Assistant's going all crazy. Don't stop. That's a good one though. Thank you very much for the super chats, Anakin. I appreciate it. I want to say hello to Astrid Pizarro, who's here. Astrid, good to see you. Throwback is here. Subscribe to his channel. What are you doing? It's good to see you. Good to see you here as well. Throwback, hope you're doing well. Ryan Smith has joined us in the chat. Good to see you. I mean, all familiar faces. I love it. I love seeing all these fantastic people popping in. Oh, all right. Are we doing this? Are we moving on? Oh, JK Schwal just left us a super chat, and he's also in the chat as well. Hi, JK Schwal. Good to see you. He says, Power Struggle and Full Gear Saturday hose me down. Yeah, Saturday's a big one. You kidding me? Two great. Well, look. Let's just get into it. Here comes the weekly wrestling inspection. Oh shit! That didn't happen. It hadn't happened in a while. I was just because I'm going to start by talking about Power Struggle tonight. We're going to start talking about New Japan because there's New Japan stuff to talk about. Let's talk about New Japan stuff because I love New Japan. Yes, on Saturday, big day for wrestling because we've got Power Struggle, early morning, late night, early afternoon, wherever it is you are in the world. And then later on, we have AEW and Full Gear. It's a big day of wrestling, and there's a lot of good stuff. And if you ask your boy here, if you ask your boy, to me, I'm more excited for Full Gear than I am regarding Power Struggle. Power Struggle is a little iffy for me. It's not captivating my attention or getting me all excited as much as Full Gear is. I kind of think the Power Struggle card is a little on the weak side. I want to say hello to Pat Gerard, who joined us in the chat. Hello, Pat. Good to see you. So let me break down the card really, really quickly. Let's just go over it. Toru Yano is going to be defending the provisional King of Pro Wrestling 2020 trophy against Zack Sabre Jr. And the stipulation, because as you remember, the King of Pro Wrestling matches all have stipulations attached to them. Toru Yano's, the stipulation that was picked is that there are no corner pads during this match. And if you know about Toru Yano matches, you know that he unfastens them quite a bit and uses them as weapons. So the turnbuckles are going to be exposed. It's going to be, look, I think it's kind of lame. I think it's a lame stipulation. I'm not really into it. But what's really cool here, Yano, Zack Sabre Jr. has a really good sense of humor. That's what I'm trying to say. He has a really, really good sense of humor. He's got so he can work really well with Yano. I think they can pull off something. I think they can pull off something fun. I think Toru Yano retains. I don't see him losing the trophy, especially, from its onset. I think he's going to defend it as the first champion. I think he's going to defend it till the end of the year, until the reset, basically. So we'll see what happens on that end. Probably the match I'm most looking forward to, Minoru Suzuki versus Shingo Tagagi. Yes, it's like the 7th time, I'm exaggerating, it's like the 3rd time that we see them fight each other in a very short amount of time. But you know what? That's fine. Because every time these guys fight each other, it is massive, it's brutal, it's fantastic. It's one of the reasons why I love watching New Japan so much. It's going to be for the Never Openweight Championship. Of course, Minoru Suzuki is the champion. I definitely see Shingo winning it back. Either way, I'm okay with the result here. Like I've said when I was talking about my G1 predictions, I thought they had Shingo drop the Never title so that he'd go through the G1 without the strap and then win his block, right? That's what I thought was going to happen. And then I don't think I predicted him winning the G1, but I thought we got him anyway, So you could probably see him winning it back. That'd be okay. Kazuchika Okada is going to be wrestling the Great Okan. Little Kazu's 2020 barrels on with fierce force. Of course, Great Okan is he's the heater of Will Ospreay's new stable, Empire, of course, that he started with B. Priestley. Okay. If you want to do this, that's fine. Of course. This is just a lead in to the Wrestle Kingdom match, which hasn't been announced yet, but is going to definitely be announced, of Will Ospreay versus Kazuchika Okada. I definitely see a fuck finish through this somehow. We're going to get some shenanigans, and I predict that on Saturday morning when I'm recapping this with Mags, I'm going to be a little pissed off and I'm going to say, I didn't like this match. That's what I'm predicting. So nothing great this is a stepping stone, right? This is definitely a stepping stone going into Wrestle Kingdom. Want to say hello to JPQ, Big Paws on a Pup, who just jumped in, and Mr. Fretz. Good to see you. We'll also have a singles match for the IWGP United States Championship Challenge Rights Certificate, the briefcase, if you prefer. Kenta, who holds the briefcase, versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Can you believe Hiroshi Tanahashi breaking the briefcase like he did, letting it splinter across his back? My God, man. What a heel. Kind of makes you wonder where they want to go with this. And you know, in the chat right now, if you whoever's familiar with New Japan, I would like to get your thoughts on this. What you're going into Wrestle Kingdom, clearly they're going to keep the US title match for Wrestle Kingdom. They're going to fly Mox in for that, most likely. I mean, I'm not confirming anything. What's the biggest match? What's the match you most want to see? I mean, I think as a wrestling fan, I want to see Moxley versus Kenta because they are going to beat the shit out of each other. But your bigger match is Tanahashi versus Mox, right? That's what I think. That's what I feel, right? I mean, you know, I don't know how this is going to go. The wrestling fan in me the wants to see Kenta and Mox unchained from WWE, beating the tar out of each other. But on the other hand, I think the bigger money match really is Mox versus Tanahashi. Because Tanahashi still has to have a marquee match for Wrestle Kingdom. We're still weeks away. And, you know, Chris Jericho could pop up at any moment and say, Tanahashi, I'm challenging you again, you son of a bitch. And we'd all be, yeah, okay, let's do this kind of thing. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know who's going to win. Frankly, I think Tanahashi will probably win. But I really like Kenta to hang on to the briefcase. Anyway, we'll see. Another briefcase match, Kota Ibushi versus Jay White is also happening. Singles match for the Tokyo Dome IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship Challenge Rights Certificate. The briefcase, the other one. Kota Ibushi hangs on to it. Like, I mean, it's going to lead directly into the other match here, which is the main event, which is extremely underwhelming. Tetsuya Naito, the current IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Champion, versus Evil for both belts. This is the fourth time that Naito and Evil fight each other since June, and they haven't had good matches together. The three matches they've had were very, very, very tepid. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't know why we're going to this well again. It's other than just feeling like a transitional match, something that you have to give our boy Naito. You have to give him a championship match moving forward. I'm not looking forward to it. But here's what I'm thinking is Naito retains, and I think Kota Ibushi is going to hold on to the briefcase, despite the fact that he's fighting Jay White, who is, one of the greatest in the world. They're all great, but so's Kota Ibushi. I really think your money match for the Dome at Wrestle Kingdom is Naito versus Ibushi. I don't see anything else that could top that as far as star power goes right now. As far as that quintessential mix of star power and in-ring skill, I think that's how you go. I think that's where you I think that's the path you take. So I think Ibushi defeats Jay White. I think Tetsuya Naito defeats Evil, and I think Bullet Club starts to come apart at the seams. I think there's some shenanigans here that happen. Jay White isn't going to just sit around idly and let all this stuff happen. He's going to do something. So, I mean, I think there's going to be some good matches here. I think Suzuki versus Shingo is going to be great. I think even Kenta and Tanahashi are going to surprise the shit out of everyone. And Ibushi versus White's going to be great too. The rest is, to me, is going to be very hit or miss. But I'm still looking forward to it. It's a big show for New Japan. It's one of the last big shows leading into Wrestle Kingdom. So I'm excited. But that doesn't mean that we're done talking about New Japan, though, because earlier last week, or early this week, within the last 6 days or so, it was announced that we knew that we were getting the Best of Super Juniors and World Tag League at the same time, right? But we got the competitors. They were announced for, at least for the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. We still don't know who's participating in World Tag League, and quite honestly, who gives a fuck? But we've got Robbie Eagle Show, Taiji Ishimori, your current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. You've got Hiromu Takahashi, Rizuke Taguchi, Bushi, El Desperado, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Doki, and Master Wato, who are all going to be in the tournament. And it works like the G1 if you're not familiar, except there's not 2 blocks, there's just one, but it's another round robin kind of situation. That's starting on November 15, so literally in a little over a week. So that's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. You got to think that Hiromu's going to have a big tournament. You got to expect Ishimori to have a big tournament out of here as well. Crossing my fingers that El Desperado as well gets a good one, because I fear that they're dropping him back into a tag situation with Kanemaru. While I think he had a great, just a few months ago, June, July, the shows that they were having, he was doing fantastic. And Doki, they're positioning him to be a force. So I'm excited to see how this is going to go. I think that Robbie Eagles and Master Wato are going to be taking losses. They're going to be there to eat some pins, in my opinion. Sho should have a good tournament too. Technically speaking, he's been messing around with the heavyweights, right? With Shingo. Technically, a boy Sho to be fine. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. So that's what I'm excited about. They haven't announced who's going to be in World Tag League, but that's fine. But I think the real big cherry on top of this delicious sundae of New Japan goodness was the announcement that they are, on top of Best of Super Juniors, on top of World Tag League, we're going to have a Super J Cup this year, the 8th installment, which is going to start on December 12th and is going to take place on the New Japan Pro Wrestling World Friday night slot, where they feature New Japan Pro Wrestling of America talent. So it's going to be a U.S. tournament. You're U.S. only. And my God, if when they announced the talent, if people didn't start marking out, I don't know what they were doing. But listen, here's who: El Fantasmo, who is a stalwart, Bullet Club, good for him. Clark Connors, up and coming young lion. You have Blake Christian. Impact's Chris Bay is going to be there. Impact's TJP is going to be there as well. I know. Okay. ACH is there. Ray Horace. But I think the big draw, the big one where everyone was like, Jesus Christ, Leo Rush is going to be in the tournament. Too much talent. Too much talent in here. You know what would have only made this better, in your boy's very, very tiny, small, humble opinion? Lee Moriarty. If he had been in there, let's say instead of Blake Christian's great, don't get me wrong, but I think he's one of the interchangeable ones here. I think Lee would have been fantastic. And yes, we're getting Leo Rush versus ACH and versus Chris Bay. Now, here's a couple of notes here for you. Here's the wild thing about Chris Bay here. Impact talent, works on the indies, part of the Rascals. I like Chris Bay. I like him a lot. I think he's got extremely high upside. He's a special kind of talent. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do in a New Japan ring. But here's what's interesting is that he was even promoted as being part of Impact. right? When they did the graphics, they had the Impact logo on his card. And what's wild is, well, you guys know this if you follow wrestling, if you for a moderate amount of time, Impact and New Japan historically do not have a good relationship. Anthem kicked New Japan off of their television network, right? And New Japan got screwed by Jeff Jarrett a few years ago. Not to talk about the Okada stuff, right? We all know that. So that's kind of wild. I think it's so wild to think that that's a situation that's something that we're in right now, that where Impact and New Japan are working to me. I know everyone wants the forbidden door to be open, AEW and New Japan, but to me, this is much more significant. This is wild, folks. So excited to see Chris Bay. I'm excited to see everyone. Oddly enough, no Danny Lamlight, who's been a fixture of the Friday night New Japan shows. And he's not there. And he's been showing up on Dark, right? On AEW Dark. So, goddamn, folks, it should be a hootenanny. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this. God bless you, New Japan. God bless you. We should start giving out some cool beans and stuff at this point. What do you think? What do you say? Should we do it? Let's start doing it. Cool beans. Cool beans to giving Bianca Belair some wins. How can you be against that, right? She won on Friday on SmackDown. She won a triple threat to become a member of the women's team for Survivor Series, which we're going to be talking about in a minute or two. And decisively, she had a good, strong win. She was put in a double submission on top of that. Natalya and Billie Kay had her tied up both in their own submissions, and she had a great moonsault as well, a beautiful moonsault. You know, like one of these moonsaults where you're like, yeah, okay, she's been doing these all her life. Fantastic stuff. Bianca's the only woman confirmed to the SmackDown, to the SmackDown Survivor Series women's team. Now, of course, they need to push Bianca and they need to push her hardcore. That's what she's for. She's that good. There's no reason to just let it be nothing, right? She has to go in and go in strong. So this is a good step. Now the thing here is that I'm wondering how they're going to do the qualifiers moving forward, or at least there's probably going to be women who are going to be in qualifiers who are going to end up in other qualifiers, right? Because the other participants are the entire SmackDown roster for women include Bayley, Carmella, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, Sasha Banks, Tamina, and Zelina Vega. That's not a lot of women, especially if you're doing triple threat matches every week to fill out a team of 5. I don't know how they're going to pull this one off. But yeah, and Sasha's out of the equation because she's going to be wrestling Asuka at Survivor Series. So we'll see how things go moving forward here. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I'm really curious to see how they're going to move forward, with these qualifiers. But hey, Bianca Belair wins a match and strongly. So let her win for her team. Let her pin everyone. Don't let her tag anyone. Give her the Diesel run. That's what you should do. More cool beans. Jey Uso joining Roman at the table is fantastic stuff. The Roman turn has been absolutely phenomenal, right? We know that, and I've talked about it, and it's documented. We've been gushing over Roman for weeks now. But the Jey Uso turn, that was really well done. And first and foremost, he had a good match he had a good match with Daniel Bryan, right? But you can tell during the match that they weren't going necessarily all out in the match. They weren't like delivering a standout 5-star classic. You could tell they were pulling back, probably to keep another killer one in the tank, because after the match, as you recall, Roman was sort of like, you want to be at the table, prove that you're loyal, just by looking at Daniel Bryan. And Jay was like, all right, I get it, mob boss Roman. And he just starts beating the shit out of Bryan. Super kick, another Uso splash, and he pulls him out of the ring, and beats him down before tosses him into the steel steps, through the table with another Uso splash. Just kept beating on him. Good stuff. Like, that was also expertly done. And you know what? I hope they continue having Jay and Daniel Bryan have some issues. I really hope that continues down that path, because you know what? It's a fresh match. It's a fresh match that we're excited to see, that we can get in on, right? Can you believe that? Fun, fresh matches in WWE. Well, that's what Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso can turn into, right? But here's the opposite of fresh, though. The complete opposite of fresh is the telenovela that's still going on with the Mysterios and Aaliyah and what's his name? Buddy Murphy. All of that. That's the opposite of fresh, right? They do the draft, right? They do the draft to they do the draft to freshen things up, to give us possibilities of matches that we don't get, but they just teleport everyone over to the other brand and they continue as if nothing happened. Yes, the 19-year-old thing is creepy as hell to watch. I don't get it, especially when you consider who's in the employ of WWE these days. I think you'd think, but tone deafness is a virtue for WWE, but I can't get into it. I think it's boring. I don't even know who the heels are. Who are the heels here? Because to me right now, it's Ray and Dominic who are complete jerks, especially Dominic, and that half stash he has going for himself. Cut that shit out, Dominic. You're not endearing yourself. It doesn't look good. You're not winning yourself over with the crowd here. And the whole interaction that the whole interaction that Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah had that night, I understand. Oh, it's very tense, right? Because your father hates me, but I want to make amends. I know it's very stressful for them, right? But Murphy didn't even smile at her once, and he's supposed to be like his girlfriend. She's supposed to be his girlfriend, or maybe he's the girlfriend. God, guys, I'm not here to kink shame anyone. They can do whatever they want, whatever makes them happy. But at least show that you're in love. I love him, Dad. Well, smile at each other and it's not because you start making out in a ring. And is it just me? Like, systematically, I think people who make out in a wrestling ring, I think they're heels. I think they're systematically heels. When Lana and Bobby Lashley started tongue wrestling a few months ago during that angle, no one was cheering for them. Everyone was like, get the hell out of here. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't want to see you guys making out in front of 10,000 people on national television. Just scram. And it's the same thing with the weddings. When they have wrestling weddings, and you're like, when Kane was supposed to kiss Lita, it's a heel thing to do, to kiss someone in a ring, to make out with them. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see that. Blah, blah. Injection 2K left us a super chat. By the way, welcome to the chat, Injection 2K. Good to see you. He says, 1, hi Warren. Hello. Number 2, everyone but Seth should be on Raw. They should have just split them. I think Seth is a very good fit for SmackDown. I agree. Putting Seth over on SmackDown, especially since he's been on Raw for so long, I think it gives, just breathes new life into his character. He's hanging around with Roman and, there's possibilities there. Why did they bring everyone over? I don't understand. I think you're right, and I think there's more room for Dominic Mysterio on a 3-hour show than there is on a 2-hour show. So so there we go. Who else are we talking about? More hot trash. Here we go. More hot trash. You've seen probably some comments floating around that WWE these days, a lot of people are saying it feels like WCW 2000, right? It's a valid criticism at the same time. And then, you have people going around, they're booking it like WCW 2000. It's, it's bad. It's hokey back then. And then what do we get on Monday night? We get a guitar on a pole match, like the epitome, the object of ridicule that everyone made fun of in the dying days of WCW, the one of the emblems of how shitty the booking had gotten and uncreative and stupid it had become. They decide to use it on Raw while we're comparing Raw to WCW 2000. That's and I don't think if it's I don't know if it's meta. I don't know if they're just like reading the room. Or if they're being like, if there's irony, I don't think so. I don't think they're being ironic. My God, and Elias lost. I hope they're done because Jeff and Elias don't work well together. The match stunk, but I thought it was bad. Do you think that Elias lost out of payback because his album only charted at number 2 on the soundtracks chart and not on? Do you think that might be exaggerating? Shout out to Chris and Ashley who did that bit of research on that end. And for the record, no, we would not make out in a wrestling ring because those are for heels. And heels don't. I'm not a heel. Evan Wright, good to see you. Left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, I've said it feels like WCW 2000. It's real bad. Yep. Yeah. It really does feel like that. I will say, Raw this week was an improvement. Take that for what it's worth. But let's keep the hot trash going. Let's talk about all the Survivor Series stuff because, man, at this point, I don't know what's going on. And I feel like I have this discussion every year when Survivor Series time comes around. Why would anyone want to join? This is the basic thing. Why does anyone want to join a Survivor Series team? There's no reason for any wrestler on any brand to join them. Now, that's not so bad in and about itself. But this year, they're booking the teams as we don't get along. The moving part, how will they get along? So why would you even get into a team with people that you don't get along with to win a match for what reason? Look, let's talk about the women on Raw. Let's start with that. Lana is on the team, right? She made her room on the team. Who else is on the team? Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, who she doesn't get along with. But even so, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler aren't supposed to get along with each other either. Why would... And then they do the same thing with the guys. So on both teams, it's like, how will they ever get along? Jesus, they wanted to drive that point home so hard that they had Braun Strowman say those exact words in the ring after his match, after he won his qualifier, and where he extends a hand to Keith Lee and he says, well, we're going to have to set aside our differences and work together as a team. I'm like, my God, man. First of all, we get it. Second of all, you're doing this all over the place. and Sheamus doesn't get along with them, and AJ Styles doesn't get along with anyone. Why are they even fighting together? Why would you even want to be captain of the team? There's no reason for this to happen because there's no stakes. And yes, I know, it's Vince, Brett, I get it, but I myself don't want to sit around and make excuses. I want this to work. I want this to make sense. And I've been pushing this for years. I just want this to make sense. You know, I think that probably one of the basic things they could do is just have title match implications, Royal Rumble implications. Your teams fight, and whoever is the sole survivor of the Survivor Series match goes into Royal Rumble at number 30. There's 2 people left. Well, 29 and 30. There's 3 people left. 28, 29, 30. And there you go. Now you have a reason for everyone to get involved because they'll secure a place in the Royal Rumble. And on top of that, not only securing a place, but a damn good place on top of that. But that would require forward thinking and planning. You know, and really quickly, because I am, per usual, going a little over time here, so I don't want to spend too much time about it, but I do want to indicate, I do want to give some cool beans to the Firefly Funhouse segment this Monday. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I really do. I know it's not for everyone. I really, really get it. But you know, it works. It works for me. I get entertained with it. I think it's fun. I think they like it when they get the puppets involved and they go off the rails. And I like Alexa Bliss in this role here. Zombie Alexa Bliss, not so much, but fully immersed, fully involved, spooky, weird Alexa Bliss. She likes horror films. She likes that kind of stuff. Let's make it work. She makes it work. It doesn't always translate perfectly in the ring. Again, I get it, but the segments are fun. I like it. So it gets cool beans. I got some super chats here I should go through before we keep moving forward. I'm going to have to move back a bit here. We had Anakin JMT. Well, let's just a couple of super chats. Thank you very much, Anakin. Going back to when I was talking about New Japan, he says, New Japan talk demands the New Japan music. Well, it was the G1 music, right? Because the G1 is such an event. It has its own music. So anyway, we'll see. Maybe next week. But thank you for the suggestion, Anakin. He left us another super chat. And he says, Jericho will probably be too busy figuring out how elections work to go to Japan. Oh, poor Chris. Oh. Yeah, we talked about this quite a bit on the Discord this week. You know, as an aside, I think people were going maybe too hard on Chris Jericho on many subjects. You know, I don't know if you guys know what we're talking about, but he put out a tweet where he said, you know, I'm not a political person, but isn't it strange that overnight, you know, suddenly all these new votes are popping up, you know, so, okay. And a lot of people, you know, really went hard, and, you know, I think what he said was uninformed and a little stupid. That's fine. But I also think that, it was a little too harsh. What I had a problem with was him saying, I'm not a political person, when it was revealed not that long ago that he gave the Trump campaign, $3,000? He's had Trump Jr. on his show. He's had Andrew Yang on his show. It's like, no, don't come into my timeline, Christopher Jericho, with your say, I'm not a political person. That's enough. That's not cute. I don't think that's cute. It's not funny. That's just good old fashioned hypocrisy trying to work the marks here. So there we go. I still have a couple of more super chats here, but thank you very much for that again, Anakin. Evan Wright says, left a super chat. Thank you again. He says, what are they even fighting about? Why are they talking about the Survivor Series? That's the thing, right? Exactly. That's it. Why do it? Why would you be in the Survivor Series? And, we've talked about it as well on other circumstances. Like, maybe my idea is a little more convoluted, but if you were just going to say at the end, there's $50,000 to split between the winners. Cool. Just give him a reason, right? Just give him a reason. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Says, I win, Warren. Justice has been served with a Goldberg emoji. What did you win? I don't know. I don't know what you won. All right. Well, I'm glad you won. I don't know what we're talking about. Injection 2K left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, the Firefly Funhouse should have a network show, in my opinion. I love the Firefly Funhouse. It's, when they start really getting, I agree, when they start getting creative with it, like they did on Monday and like they've done in the past, that's where it gets fun. It gets silly, goes off the rails, it becomes absurd, becomes weird. You gotta like it. You really, really gotta like it. And Kristen Ashley left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Kristen. She says, heading to bed. Good. You need an early night tonight. She says, heading to bed. Just wanted to say good night, everyone. Thank you for the love and support today. Yes, we're going to talk about Kristen's contribution to wrestling media today in a little AEW topic. But it was a good day. And yes, indeed, thank you, everyone, showing support for Kristen from Bell to Bells. I super appreciate it as much as you show support for your boy Warren here on the Mr. Warren Hayes show featuring Mr. Warren Hayes. And thank you everyone for the super chats as well. Let's keep some cool beans going then. Let's talk about how AEW Dynamite was a good go home show. Right? What? That AEW reminded us on Dynamite last night how to send your crowd home for a pay-per-view. They covered all their bases for all their main feuds. I don't think everything worked. I don't think everything was successful. I think, I think the Nyla Rose Shida stuff was just slapdash together, and I don't think it was good. I think Cody's final emergency, oh shit, we need to hype this feud promo that he cut on Darby Allin at the end was forced, and I don't think it was great. I don't think the Young Bucks Elite stuff was good either. I think it's convoluted. I'm actually confused. I'm confused, and I really feel like FTR are playing second banana in this feud instead of being elevated. Paige coming out to save the buck. Stories on top of stories where we should have just focused on this element here. But the Cinderella package, that was perfect. The Pac vignette. What's bigger than a chef's kiss? Chat, let me know. What's bigger than a chef's kiss? They even had Orange Cassidy and John Silver get some shots in for their thing. Austin Gunn getting the pin on the main event in the show where he's on the go home show where he's not involved. Okay, cool. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I'll be goddamned if they didn't work this to their advantage with everything that they have, set up. And we're gonna keep the cool beans going here. Sammy Guevara and Ortiz versus MJF and Wardlow was a fantastic opener in the tradition of AEW, if we're being frank. That was fantastic. So good. Sammy Guevara was the star of that match. In one sequence, hits a springboard flying crossbody onto both of his opponents. Then hits MJF with a corkscrew suicide dive. Then he hits Wardlow with a corkscrew plancha. That's your boy. And that's cool stuff. And in the meantime, look at what they did too here. They had Matt Hardy get his shots in on Sammy at the same time during this match. Great opener. A fantastic tag team match. You know, put talented people together in the ring. Look what happens. Talented things happen. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Evan. He says, I got legit chills with the Eddie and Mox stuff. Amazing. Hey, let's talk about that right now. Cool Beans is big. Hang on. This doesn't serve. I mean, we're going to have to do one of these again, right? Enormous Cool Beans. We're going to have blinking enormous Cool Beans. With me making sound effects. That's how big it was. I thought this brilliant stuff. From two pro wrestlers who understand pro wrestling, bringing the emotion into it. And if I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times, and it'll be my pleasure to do so. One of the reasons why I'm not speaking in Morse code. One of the reasons why we're all trying to why everyone is sort of like having this awakening regarding the promo work in AEW is because AEW is letting their talkers do the talking. They're letting them be authentic and sincere, which is something that WWE promos seldom have, except when you split up the New Day. That's why moments like the New Day on Raw are so captivating when the New Day did their goodbye speech. That's why it's so captivating, because it's a real authentic moment, and WWE doesn't deliver those. It doesn't make those. So when you see guys like Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, and especially Eddie Kingston, pouring their hearts out on a promo like that, and everyone is like, my God, yes, it's brilliant, but it's the core of what a wrestling promo is about. It's supposed to get you hyped for a match. It's not supposed to lay out foundations for motivations. It's supposed to get you excited for a match, because the company who is putting on the match wants you to buy the goddamn pay-per-view. They want you to buy a ticket to their house show. That's what a promo is short for promotion. It's not a vehicle to necessarily tell stories. It's to get you excited to watch, to buy. That's what they want you to do. That's why it's a promo, not a tale, not a yarn, a promo. So when you see these two guys do it, and I'm not trying to diminish what they did, because even for classic old school type promos, this was brilliant stuff. Like it's above and beyond anything that we've seen for a long time. I'm not trying to diminish it. It's just when we see it, it becomes twice as captivating, because for so many years we're being fed lines through creative that isn't playing into the strengths or the realities of their talent. They're instead trying to construct these tales. So it's very, very different. This was so good. And AEW knows, as opposed to WWE, AEW knows that you have to shell out actual fun bucks to buy their pay-per-view, to watch it. So they're in the old school format where they're like, we got to get people excited about the card. So get out there and make them excited about the card. But my God, Moxley and Kingston, it's just been brilliant from the get-go. Remember when Kingston a few weeks ago replaced Lance Archer when Archer had to take a break because he was exposed to someone who had COVID, and it was all in the same day, and Kingston walks out immediately after the first match, cuts a 2-minute promo, and gets us stoked for the main event. Do you remember that? That is how you sell me a match. And you put these two together, Jesus Christ, it was such good shit. Pow. Anakin JMT lift us a super chat. Thank you, Anakin. He says, Warren, check the Discord real quick to see how DGMC won. I tagged you. I don't even know that. Was there a contest? What did he win? I didn't even know we were running a competition. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. All right, let's move over to more cool beans. Hey, Miro versus Trent. How good was that? That was great showing from Miro here. Hey, did you know that Miro's last singles match was on Raw on January 13 against Robert Lashlington? Did you guys know that? He hadn't wrestled a singles match since January this year. That's fantastic stuff. And Trent had a shining moment, right? He had this great moment where, you know, he hit a tornado DDT and a running knee, and they had sold me the pin on that one. I was like, cripes, Miro's dead. The selling, everything was on point. Trent, at some point, he buggered a springboard attempt, and Miro kicked him in the face, then went into the I still want to call it the accolade, but the game over camel clutch. And I don't think, I think that was intentional. If it wasn't, it looked really, really good. It was really, really good. But I'm pretty sure it was intentional. But geez, it was so good, and a hard reset for Miro. Hi there, it's me with your gamer terminology here being used for Miro. I think they're taking some distance from the gaming stuff though in regards to Miro, because it wasn't working. I don't think it was connecting, and I think it was doing Miro a disservice. And I think that's good. Trent is amazing. I don't think anyone can have a bad match with Trent. You know, Trent should be the next TNT champion. He really should. If you're not gonna put him in a main event program, he's your next TNT man for sure. But anyway, yeah. So Dynamite was exactly that last night. It was Dynamite. It was really good. And on that, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna wrap up the weekly wrestling inspection. There's sometimes, and I'm just going to tell y'all this. There's sometimes, it's like 8:45, before, like 15 minutes before I start the show. And I'm sitting around and I'm getting everything set up and I'm testing the microphone. And I'm like, is this the night that I do everything in ASMR? That I do an entire show in ASMR to help people soothe themselves? And I get that urge. Sometimes. It's just like, I'm going to do an ASMR. At some point, I just may do it. Look. I mean, you know, despite the fact that Benoit, one of my mods, is like, no, don't do it, but I'm in charge of the show. Maybe I should do that as a reward at some point. Like it's like an episode reward for for a streak or something. That'd be great. Anyway, guys, remember you can keep dropping super chats. Like the video if you haven't already. Share it out into the universe. Do all that kind of stuff. That'd be great. That would be great. Why do people don't think that a whole episode of the MrWarrenHayes show in ASMR would not be fantastic? Can you imagine? Look, I mean, now we're going to start talking about Goldberg. You know about Goldberg, one of the worst wrestlers, ended Bret Hart's career effectively. Come on, tell me that wouldn't be hot. Anyway, I want to... Let's I want to talk about we're gonna keep talking about AEW for the end of the show on two very different points. I want to talk about Full Gear coming up this weekend, and Full Gear this weekend. Full Gear is happening this weekend, right? And as you probably have heard on the buy-in, we have Serena Deeb, the NWA Women's World Champion, who's going to be defending the title against Allison Kay. And when that happened, I was like, wait, what? And I was torn. I was absolutely torn when that news was announced. Now, let me walk you through this, okay? First and foremost, on an AEW pay-per-view, you're going to have an AEW signed talent, currently the owner of the NWA World Women's Champion, defending that same title against an unsigned AEW talent who recently announced that she was gone from NWA. I mean, you can't make that shit up. You just can't. That's so wild. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm excited at the prospect of seeing Deeb and Kay wrestle each other. They are going to mesh really, really well. They really are. It's going to be a good, solid match. And on top of that, it's a second women's match on an AEW show. That, my friends, is a rarity in and about itself. That's a pearl right there. That's a diamond in the rough right there. That's good stuff. But why is the NWA title on the pre-show? The NWA women's title that has close to 100 years of legacy. This is the title Mildred Burke held, right? This is the one that stood the test of time. Why is it being put on the pre-show? Is it because they had to make room for Shida, who had just got her match announced this week? Tom Tanlin, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. Because they wanted to make room for their champion on the main card in a match thrown together 2 weeks before the pay-per-view with no build and with no story, nothing. Just like your women's champion, your world women's championship gets slapdashed onto the card into a feud out of nowhere with going back to the Nyla Rose well, which I don't have a problem with, because I think Shida and Rose work really well together. Not a problem. But wasn't Britt Baker on an epic comeback tour? Where is she? Why isn't she even on the card? Why isn't she booked? Earlier today, our girl, you're welcome, Pat. Earlier today, our girl, Kristen Ashley, was on the our girl Kristen Ashley was on the AEW media call, right? With was on the media call with Cody, and she asked him, she straight out asked him about, how do you feel about not giving any more build to Shida versus Rose, where Shida is your champion. Why was there no build, no storyline to this match? And I'm gonna read you Cody's answer. I'm gonna read it verbatim. It says, I personally am not disappointed, because my outlook on wrestling is there's a wrestling ring, and we have wrestlers, and we have rankings, and there will be matches. I do understand that for the last 20 years, fans have been conditioned to think that every match is going to start with an invisible camera and a piece of cake and catering, and someone takes that last piece of cake, and now there's drama. Now there is a storyline. In our case, it's sports centric. Excuse me, I'm trying not to laugh. We're right back to it, and I mean it when I said it. I hope folks aren't disappointed when they get this wonderful match between two incredible female performers. There is no one better than Shida, and I'm talking about our women's division and our men's division. I am aware that for 20 years they've been conditioned that every match needs to have a war and peace story connected to it. That will not be the case with AEW. We have wrestling matches because we are a wrestling show. It's in the title. I hope that if there was any disappointment in the build, that there will be no disappointment in the execution. So I'm going to just break this down a little bit because I agree with Cody to a degree. I agree that there comes a time, and we've had this debate before. I've talked about it a couple of times. When does the build really matter in regards to a match? Because I think that a match in a void can be fantastic, build or not. This is part of why we do retro reviews to a certain extent. When we go back and watch old pay-per-views and then talk about them, we don't talk about the build. We don't watch the 5 weeks of Raw that served as the build-up to the match on the pay-per-view, to every match on the pay-per-view. We look at the pay-per-view and how it exists in time and how it connects, how it meshes together, and whatever was the build, right? I'm convinced. And in 20 years from now, we're going to be reviewing Full Gears and the all outs and the all ins and so on and so forth. And you know, we're going to be at a point where it's going to be like, well, in a vacuum, this is great. This is a fantastic match. I would argue that WWE this year has had some fantastic pay-per-views despite of the build. They've had some great matches, some great shows in spite of all the storylines that came forward. Now, Smacked Raw podcast. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat. Now, in regards to Cody talking about we're a sports centric, right? We're a sports centric show. The ratings matter, and we're not conditioned here. We're trying to break the conditioning that everything needs a war and peace 7-week feud. No. Hang on a second. Wait a minute. Now, I can get behind the story. First of all, Cody, don't come and tell me that Hangman Page and Kenny Omega is not a storyline. It's a good storyline. It was well executed. It was given time and we got behind it, and it helped create hype for the match. A match that, yes, on its own would probably be fantastic, but now we're excited for it. We're hyped for it. Your build was successful. Same thing with all the elite stuff. You know, who's on whose side, are the elite breaking up, so on and so forth. You've had some very successful storylines. Just like you've had non-sports-centric storylines. I'm a broken record at this point, but there was nothing sports-centric about MJF going on the campaign trail to build his match against Jon Moxley. There's nothing sports-centric about town halls or debates or dropping orange juice from the ceiling onto people or Broadway musicals. Those aren't sports-centric. Those are storylines. Now, I'm not necessarily expecting a tightly woven storyline every time, and that's not even the point. The point here, in the case of your world women's champion, is that you decided to put her on the card haphazardly 2 weeks into the pay-per-view into a storyline where suddenly we learn that, oh, Nyla Rose has not been wrestling out of protest? What? Huh? What? Okay, if you say so. People have told me. She's talked about it on Dark. Well, here's the thing. Newsflash. Not everyone watches Dark. That's the thing. And I keep using the same example. I watch Star Wars, but I don't want I don't want my enjoyment of Star Wars to be impeded because I don't read the expanded universe. You know what I mean? It's the same situation here. If you have your flagship show and you want me to care about stuff that are happening on your flagship show, have them happen there. We didn't necessarily need 2 months of Sheeta and Rose going at it again, but we did want, and I think we did as myself, I'm saying we, but you guys know I'm talking mostly about myself and my interests here. I mostly, as a fan of women's wrestling, I want your women to have a real substantial place and importance on the card, and not only on the pay-per-view, but in the build-up to the pay-per-view. Nyla versus Sheeta was announced last week in a backstage interview segment with Alex Marvez, where Sheeta's like, "Oh, you want to fight? Okay, let's fight." And that's it. And then this week, you gave Nyla a squash. That's a perfect idea. But and then they sort of go after each other outside of the ring, and it wasn't that great a segment either. The point here is that, again, and my God, I cannot wait to no longer talk about this. I'm so stoked about it. They don't care about their women's division. They don't. Because they don't give any of them some airtime. They can barely scrounge together 15 minutes on Dynamite for it to happen. Oh, you can see lots of women on Dark, but that's not the show that all people want. That's not your centerpiece. It's not the place where you get to see the stars, the future of the company, the people that you want us to tune into and get attached to and watch. It all happens on Dynamite. Pac last night, who is not even in the ring. He's been gone for months. There's rumors he might be at the pay-per-view this weekend. We don't know. But for all intents and purposes, he's still stuck in England, and he gets this great vignette that puts him over, reminds us of who he is, and then we start caring about him again. Why can't you do that with your women? Why can't you build characters for your women? Help us learn to love or hate them. Why are the women completely void from Dynamite every week? I've had someone this week tell me, I bet, and I think it was in the Discord, talking about this and saying, I would assume that Tony Khan is a numbers guy and he sees the women aren't drawing numbers, so he's not putting them on. And this is a fair assessment as a television executive, probably, and that would make sense. But what isn't fair in this assessment is that if you never give your women a chance to grow and expand and have people care about them, then they'll never draw. And the same can be said for your men. For any wrestler, that being said. And WWE has shown that women can draw, that women can main event. They've shown it time and time again. So the thing here, right now, more than ever, I think this is again proof that AEW doesn't care about its women's division. Or that they're waiting for some magic situation where everything is just going to coalesce perfectly and come together and just like become this beautiful thing just out of magic. Because they're still, yes, they have some wonderful developmental talent on Dark. They've already done the thing with Anna Jay, bringing her up. Red Velvet, who was on Dynamite, who got squashed this week, but nonetheless being paired up with Brandy. See, yes, that's cool. That's cool. But you need immediate workers. You need women who can come in and work, and then you give them to the room to develop not only as wrestlers, but as personalities, as characters, as people that we can get behind. And that's the problem. This is the glaring thing that happened with Rose and Shida. It's like, we keep telling you, you don't give us the impression that you care about your women. And you're like, yeah, no, we care about them. But you don't. You don't. Because if you did, you'd give them proper stuff. You wouldn't give, or at least you'd share a little more, the build. Omega and Paige last night on Dynamite got 4 segments to build their match. Both guys had a sit-down interview. They had the Cinderella thing, which was funny as hell. Don't get me wrong. I think it was fantastic. And they had the run-in. You can't tell me that you couldn't have squeezed in something for Rose, for Shida, for anyone else, for Britt. Where the fuck is Britt? For Swole. For Serena Deeb, who's one of, she's yours. You signed her. It baffles my mind every single time. I'm so sorry. And I was talking about this on the Wrestle Wrestling Plug Inc. podcast this week. Shout out. Go check it out, by the way. And I was saying this, and because I do get the occasional person who tells me, oh, there goes Warren again, bitching about women, and how they're being mistreated. Yes, because this is what I expect out of a wrestling promotion in 2020. I expect them to have a proper women's division with great athletes and properly book it, push it forward, make right decisions. That's what I expect. And I think it's normal to expect it at this point. And AEW created that expectation as well. Now, if they're not living up to it, I'm going to talk about it. If they were living up to it, I'd be talking about it. And I swear to God, I am excited. I will be at the front of the line the day that AEW's women division starts blowing all our minds and the women main event Double or Nothing. I swear I'll be at the front of the line, high-fiving everyone, saying, my God, what a great job you guys are doing. And every time that they do good stuff, like bringing Lila Hirsch on TV, on Dynamite, I get excited about it because I'm like, Jesus, look, these are great moves that you're doing. Why aren't you keeping these women? Why aren't you giving them more than a quarter hour? Why aren't you hyping it? Why aren't you doing more? And again, this all comes from a place of love. Absolute place of love. I want AEW to succeed. I want AEW to work. For decades, we've been stuck with one product. It's good for everyone to have another national wrestling promotion on primetime cable TV. It's good for everyone. It's good for the fans. It's good for the wrestlers. It's good for everyone. So I want AEW to succeed, and I want them to live up to the expectations that they set up for themselves. And wrestling is a business of squeaky gears. It's if you just sit in the back and you nod your head and you say, okay, and you accept everything that happens to you, nothing ever changes. So that's why I keep harping about it. That's why whenever there's an opportunity that opens, I will continue to talk about it. Because if we don't continue talking about it, it's just not going to change. And I am pro change. I like things when they evolve, when they improve, when they become different. I like it. So I'm going to keep talking about it until AEW gets their act together with their women's division, because it doesn't matter if you can see them on Dynamite. The big show, the main attraction is Dynamite. The main attraction are the pay-per-views. I want the women to have the same shine that the dudes get, because they're fucking good as well. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much. Evan, he says they'd be absolutely unstoppable if they gave the women 1/4 of Dynamite time, even if they're not TV ready. Give them more than 2 out of 17 dark matches. Thank you, Evan, for the super chat. Coming from you, that's very meaningful as well. And I agree. And you know what? Here's the thing. It's like I understand equality doesn't always come in the sense that, oh, it's all about ring time. It's not necessarily all about ring time. Sometimes it's just a question of creating vignettes, giving us reasons to get to know these women. That's part of the game too, right? It's not just about bell to bell time. It can be other things, developing the storyline, so on and so. Again, we saw Darby Allin getting run over by a car, and Darby Allin is this close to becoming a parody of himself. I'm sorry, it's sort of turning into a joke for me right now. But we saw him again, like doing stunts, and we understand it. We get it, Darby. You're a daredevil. You're afraid of nothing. We get it. What if instead of that we got Penelope Ford doing something, showing us why she's a bad girl? You know what I mean? That was our rant for tonight. But I want to finish. I want to finish on a on a good note, though, because again, talking about AEW, I want to talk about Tony Khan's interview with Mike Johnson of PW Insider this week. Excuse me. It was a very interesting interview, and I want to talk about. I want to highlight what Tony Khan said in regards to the ringside medical situation, to their medical protocols and so on and so forth. I was stoked that Mike Johnson asked him about it, and Tony Khan responded, and I'm going to read to you the verbatim, or the Tony Khan's response to this verbatim. He goes like this in regards to the medical protocols and how they're what's going on, what are the protocols that are in place. He says, we've been recently doing everything we can to work on our protocols and make things as safe as possible, and make this as safe as possible. I think there's a word here missing. To work on our protocols and make this as safe as possible work environment. I've added another independent neurologist to the staff. We've added an independent doctor at all the shows, in addition to our staff medical team, and we're adding extra support. I've added a two-way feature where the referees can talk back to us if there are injuries, so that the referee, not all communication is going one way, and I've encouraged the referees to let us know what's going on. Talks about Chris Nowinski as well. If you recall, Chris Nowinski, former WWE wrestler, quit after a series of head injuries, started up an organization that looked into CTE in sports, and he's still very active today. And Chris Nowinski has been involved in AEW, and Mike asked him about Nowinski's presence, and this is what Tony Khan had to say. He said, speaking of Chris is actually coming back this weekend, talking about Full Gear. So Chris will be at Full Gear, and I'm going to have Chris talk to all the staff and the talent, and me. It's been over a year since Chris came and saw us last, and I think it's probably overdue for Chris to come in and give us his thoughts and his critiques, and it's important that we listen to that. I'm excited to have Chris come back. I think he's the world's leading expert on head trauma. As to other injuries outside of head trauma, I think we ought to do our best there too. But I think there's probably the area. But I think that's probably the area we're most concerned about, being make sure we're doing everything safe. So this is good. This is very, very good. You'll recall a couple of weeks ago when the Reynolds injury happened, the Alex Reynolds injury happened in the ring. I lost my cool, right? Little ranty poo accompanied that, because I thought it was sloppy, but I'm not gonna get back into that. If you want to go check it out, it's available. It's there. It just happened, 2 weeks ago at this point. But I do remember saying on that podcast is, I want AEW, as a fan, I want to know that AEW is changing their protocols. Like, this is an opportunity for them to improve. if they sit back, they take a look at their procedures, their protocols, they see what's working, what's not working, and they change them. If they sit down and they improve things, I'd appreciate that, and I want to know what they're doing. I want to know what these protocols are. I want to see this organization take care of the talent that I am backing, that I'm supporting. I want them to let me know that these people who are breaking their bodies for my entertainment, so then I can go on a podcast once a week and nitpick everything they do for a living. I want to know that they're in a safe environment, because I want wrestlers to have long, healthy careers. So for me to read this, I'm like, I'm impressed. I'm legitimately impressed. This is a good thing. Another company would probably be a lot more obtuse in regards to this. But as a fan, this is exactly what I wanted to hear. Exactly what I wanted to hear. Get another neurologist. Get another independent doctor there on top of Doc Samson, who is our staff doctor, and the other staff that they already have employed. And I mean, still having Chris Nowinski around, I think, is fantastic, because and it's good that they're reaching out, that they're bringing him in as a consultant, and I hope that he can help spur some change there, because the last few weeks, since All Out, since All Out, couple of scary head injuries. It's not a good look. So to me, this says to me they're taking it seriously. If Tony Khan is by any chance, if you're listening to this right now, Mr. Khan, by any stretch of the imagination, you stumble across this, I would like to know. I would like you to make available to us your protocols. I would like to understand how during a hectic live event, a live match, especially one where there's multiple wrestlers around, I want to see the protocol. I'd love to see your procedure, and as it pertains to any type of injury that happens, because it would make me feel better. And this is the kind of goodwill that you generate, at least towards me, where I'm like, I'm ready to see where this is going to go. I feel good. I feel secure in enjoying AEW wrestling, because I feel like it's giving a safe and secure place for wrestlers to compete. So that would be great if we could, if the transparency could go that far towards the fans, so that even we are able to see and understand what those protocols are exactly, and that we're not sitting around Twitter going, I think the referee should have, well, the doctor on ringside should have, yeah, but the guys inside the ring should have. That's the kind of thing that we'd like to know. And it's not because we want to be nosy, not because we feel entitled. It's because we love wrestling, because we love our wrestlers, we love our talent. We just want to make sure that we're backing the right pony here, Mr. Khan. And if anyone wants to clip that out and send it to him, it'd be go right ahead. I'd be more than thrilled. I'd be thrilled to have Tony Khan on to talk about it. I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that. See if it ever happens. But you know what? You know what else I love? I love talking about wrestling in general. But I parting is such sweet sorrow, isn't it? As someone wise once said. Anakin JMT, though, before we wrap things up, left us a super chat. Thank you very much again, Anakin. Very kind of you tonight. He says, we had a feud with a great street fight over a van. Yes. Okay, when we were talking about the sports-centric feuds, correct? Yes. That is correct, yes. Good, very good call on that one, Anakin. And we had a great match on top of that. I agree. Thank you very much. Evan Wright left us a super chat as well. Thank you again, Evan. He says, them being AEW, doing on-site physiotherapy is great stuff. Agreed. Anything they do to take care of their wrestlers is the best thing. And I like I said, I want AEW to be transparent, because the other guys aren't. So I appreciate them letting the fans peek behind the veil. The fans are smart now. And I'm not talking about smart fans. Fans are smart on how things go. Even football fans, baseball fans, basketball, we're all smarter as to how things go and how these things operate. So whenever we get these peeks behind the curtain in regards to security and safety, I think it's good. It's good for all of us. Anyway, that being said, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Join me over on patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes in just a few minutes. It's going to be the post stream. I'm going to be talking with the patrons. You can join in at the $5 tier if you want. We're doing full gear predictions with the patrons. Taking calls live in the Discord. Live chat as well if you don't want to transmit your voice over the internet, which is cool. I get that. You can join me over there. Patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes, and I really appreciate it. If you do, it's a good time. It's different from everything I do here. Don't forget, tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, therefore Friday, I've got Jeff Hawkins here to do full gear prediction show right here live, youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Saturday morning, post show for New Japan Power Struggle, exciting stuff. And otherwise, I hope you have a great weekend of wrestling watching, a great Power Struggle weekend, a great full gear weekend. Enjoy everything. Thank you for showing up. We'll see you next time.